Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the nodal shift that just happened on May 5th, 2020. And this is such a huge event for us in astrology. And what do the nodes represent? Exactly, they represent our fate, our destiny. And when the nodes shift signs, then our destiny and our fate changes as well. So we're going to talk about what that means for your zodiac sign and just a quick rundown about the nodes. So obviously the north and south node in our chart determine our karma in life, our destiny. In Vedic astrology, it's called Rahu and Ketu. In fact, in this video, I might interchange the words a little bit. So if I talk about north node, I'm talking about Rahu. If I talk about Rahu, I'm talking about north node. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And then Ketu is the south node. So those are interchangeable. If you guys know Vedic astrology, obviously it's the same thing, different words. So anyway, with the north and south node, I will let you guys know that I feel like that's kind of like why I got into astrology. I feel like the north and south node tell us so much about our birth charts. If you guys get a reading from me, in the purpose and destiny reading, we talk a lot about your north and south node. But yeah, the north and south node are so interesting because it really shows us where we're going, where we come from, what's our purpose, what's our destiny. And so on May 5th, 2020, the nodes went from being in Cancer and Capricorn. So the north node was in Cancer, south node was in Capricorn, and then now they're in Gemini and Sagittarius, which is a whole different ball game. It's really shaking things up a bit. And we're shifting from that Cancer Capricorn energy a bit to that Gemini Sagittarius energy a bit. And yeah, I forgot to mention the north and south node stay in one sign or stay in the signs that they're in for 18 months. So we feel that energy for kind of close to 2 years, but not really. But basically, since they shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius, we're going to see the Gemini and Sagittarius themes of exploration, expansion, knowledge, curiosity, invention, travel, things like that are going to be very imminent in our lives because that's what Gemini and Sagittarius represent. And then when the nodes were in Cancer and Capricorn, we experienced a lot of energy pertaining to karma, family, patriarch versus matriarch, those sort of energies that deal with Cancer and Capricorn. So you guys can probably have a good explanation of what your life was like when the nodes were in those signs. But now we're going to talk about what your life will be like now that the signs are in Gemini and Sagittarius. So let's just get into it. Let's not waste time. And this is for your rising sign. So I wouldn't say this is relevant for moon sign or sun sign. You might feel it a little bit with your moon sign, but obviously I'm basing this off of your rising sign, and I have my board here again in this video. So yeah, rising sign, rising sign, rising sign, rising sign. So rising sign. And so let's just get into it. Okay, hey Pisces, so let's talk about how this nodal shift that just happened is impacting you, your destiny, your fate, and your purpose in life. So let's just get into it. So obviously for the past 18 months, the north and south node has been sitting in your 5th and 11th house axis. So as you guys can see for Pisces, if you're a Pisces rising, your rising sign would be here. You would have Cancer as your 5th house, and then Capricorn is your 11th house. So as I talked about in the first timestamp, when it comes to the breakdown of the nodes and stuff, the past 18 months for you has really been about that Cancer Capricorn axis in your 5th and 11th house. So you've been really feeling that activation of your 5th and 11th house. However, on May 5th, the nodes actually shifted to your 4th and 10th house axis. So we're going to talk about how that even, railroads your fate, your destiny, how it changes things in your life. This is really such a significant thing for you, Pisces. And so obviously the nodes shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius, Rahu and Ketu, north and south node, whatever you guys want to call it. I might call the north and south node Rahu and Ketu throughout this video, but basically since Rahu, aka the north node, is switching into your 4th house, instead of being so focused on this 5th house energy like you were with the past shift, I'll actually write it down so it's like easier to visualize. So north and south node are going to be, north node's going to be down here, 4th house, and then 10th house is going to be south node. So when the north and south node were in your 5th house for like the past year or so, maybe you were really focused on your inner child, you were really focused on pleasure, dating, things related to that 5th house energy. Potentially you were really just focused on doing what makes you happy, not really focusing too much on responsibilities or duties too much. Maybe you're just focusing on the pleasurable parts of life because that's the fifth house energy. But now, since the North Node's in your fourth house is such an important house because it represents the house that's closest to us. It's really our emotional well-being, our inner self, kind of like that intimate part of ourself that we don't share with the world. Now, the world is represented by the 10th house. 10th house is our relationship with the world, right? And so this is kind of like the energy you will be in for the next, I would say 18 months. And tell me down below if you felt this shift between your 5th and 4th house energy recently. I feel like I've definitely felt that 5th house shift because I'm a Pisces rising too, so I definitely felt that shift on May 5th. But anyway, so for the next month, not next month, the next couple months, next 18 months, okay, you're really going to be focused on that 4th house, those 4th house themes of home, family. You're going to be really focused on your immediate environment. Now, what Ketu does, or the South Node does when it shifts, is that wherever it is, like whatever house it's in, it really kind of causes a detachment with that house. It causes this sort of apathy with that house. So the fact that you're going to have Ketu in your 10th house for the next couple years or so, or about couple years, you're really going to have maybe a detachment with your career. Maybe you will feel kind of this sense of like you don't feel like you want to invest yourself too much in a career. You want to invest yourself in your home life, in your environment, in your emotional life. You really want to work on that inner self, that inner part of you that the world doesn't see. So you might, within these next few years, I feel for Pisces that you might be feeling like you want to be more private. 4th house does rule privacy and security. So, you might not feel as inclined to be as public. You might be a little bit more withdrawn and not really willing to be super out there with yourself because the South Node kind of represents this detachment, apathy with whatever house it transits. So you're going to be really focused on that home life, that family life, and really focused on your emotional well-being. And on a more mundane level, I will say this means that it could mean you move somewhere else. Maybe you move to foreign lands. In Vedic astrology, Rahu represents everything foreign. So foreign lands, for example, and the 4th house is the house of home. So you could move to a foreign land. Also, North Node represents this sort of radical change, and obviously the North and South Node determine a major change in our life when it shifts. So you might change. There might be a radical change in your environment, and obviously that can mean moving abroad. Obviously, once things kind of settle down with Corona, maybe you just feel the urge to move homes, move countries, move states, move cities. You're going to have this radical kind of change or disruption within your home life. At least you will have the urge to kind of leave, change things. If you don't necessarily leave or move or get new property, get a new home, you potentially will just change something radical about your house, your home life. Maybe you do reconstruction with your home, redo your room, things like that. But you're really going to be investing a lot of your time into your home life with this 4th house North Node, whereas your public life, career, you're not going to be too invested with it. You actually might feel just kind of like you don't even want to care about career. You don't even want to invest anything into career. You might start working from home. Obviously with Corona, you might have already started kind of working from home and you kind of want to continue doing that. So working from home is definitely a theme, and then moving homes, radical change with your environment, it's definitely a thing. And then I will say 4th house is family. It represents the mother as well. So you might have some sort of, your mom might have issues like on her own, I guess, or health issues, because Rahu does kind of signify maybe like a parent, like a mother figure having health issues, or just kind of having issues with your parent. Maybe you're mending things with the parent. There's this really huge emphasis on family, right, with 4th house. So yeah, I feel like you might have a little bit of issues with family, or you might have change. Maybe you just move away from your family. Maybe you have a certain confrontation with your mother. Maybe your mother has issues. Anything with family, mother especially, grandmother too, is emphasized with this transit. So the way your destiny and fate shifts now is that instead of focusing on your inner child like you were with the 5th house transit, you're focused on that inner life, that home life, and really just your emotional well-being overall. And don't feel guilty if you don't really want to invest yourself too much in career, because your South Node being there for the next 18 months, you're not going to feel terribly invested in career. If you do, you want to put like not that much effort into it. And also I will say, since this is in the Gemini Sagittarius axis of your chart, you're going to be really focused on your own inner truth. Like I said with the first timestamp, when it comes to Gemini energy, Sagittarius energy, and that entire axis, it's really about truth, expansion, exchange of knowledge, exchange of information. So especially too, I feel like for Pisces, you guys are going to be researching your genealogy, doing your whole like family line, drawing your family tree. If you don't know that already, maybe you're taking like ancestry DNA tests. That's definitely a huge theme for you, is like researching your whole entire lineage, going back to your homeland, moving to foreign lands. Either way, you're just gonna have this radical change when it comes to home, family, and your inner emotional life, and that's where your energy is really going to be focused. So tell me if you felt that shift down below, and follow me on Instagram for more astrological updates, and I'll see you Pisces in my next video. Okay, hey Aquarius, so let's talk about this North and South node shift and how it's going to affect your destiny and your fate. So I have your chart right here, and we're going to talk about how this shift really affects you on a personal level. So let's just get into it. So for you as an Aquarius rising, you should be watching this video for your rising sign, not your moon sign or sun sign. Let me write your name down here. So Aquarius. I'll just write Aqua because I'm lazy. But okay, so for Aquarius, this is your chart. So for the past 18 months, as I mentioned in the first timestamp of this video, the nodes stay in one sign for 18 months. So on May 5th, they just shifted into an entire new sign. So Gemini and Sagittarius, and they were in Cancer and Capricorn. So for you Aquarius, Cancer and Capricorn lie on the 6th and 12th house axis for you. So in your chart personally, you have a Cancer 6th house, and then you have a Capricorn 12th house. So you've really been feeling the themes of Cancer and Capricorn in that axis, which represents, healing, health, diet, nutrition, habits. And then Cancer and Capricorn represent divine masculine, divine feminine. And we already talked about what like the North and South node in Cancer was about in the first timestamp of this video. So if you guys are a little bit confused, you guys can watch that timestamp. But basically, you've been feeling that 6th and 12th house axis activated for the past 18 months or so. But now the nodes shift into your 5th and your 11th house, which is pretty exciting for you. And so let's talk about what that means. I'll just write down the North and South node. So the North and South node are going to be sitting on 5th and 11th house axis in astrology. That represents the sign of Leo, 5th house, and then Aquarius is the natural 11th house. So really, the next 18 months for you are going to be a lot about creativity. It's going to be about really expressing your inner child. With the 5th house, all it wants to do is really have pleasure, enjoy itself. When you have a lot of 5th house energy in your chart, you might even feel that very naturally on your own, is that you just want to have fun, you want to express yourself. It's that Leo house, right? And then the 11th house is all about community. It's about your impact on the world, your impact on others. It's about your hopes, your dreams, your gains, your wishes. So in the next 18 months or so, you're going to be really focused on really pleasing your inner child and really thinking about ways to express more creativity in your life, have more joy in your life, have more pleasure. The 5th house is all about joy. It's about pleasure. So that's what you're really going to be focused on, really focused on indulgence. Having that past transit of yours in the 6th and 12th house, like we just talked about, might have been really heavy. 6th house energy is very serious and boring and productive. But 5th house is way more fun and exciting, right? So you're going to have that really exciting shift from like boring, tedious, healing type of energy. Not to say it's like boring, but like obviously 6th and 12th house energy is kind of heavy energy to deal with for 18 months. But you're going to feel a little bit more of a weight lifted with this 5th house, 11th house axis activated. So tell me if you felt this shift already. I feel like a lot of us are feeling that shift because it just happened on May 5th. So it's only been a few days, but you might have felt that immediate weight lifted once the North node went from your 6th house to your 5th house. So you're going to really be focused on that sense of inner creativity, nurturing your creative ideas. And now, like I said in the first timestamp of this video, the North and South node is known as Rahu and Ketu in Vedic astrology. And in Vedic astrology, Rahu is a very inventive energy. It's this energy that does rule inventions, new ideas. So this is a time where you might be giving birth to really inventive, profitable new ideas. Obviously, fifth house is the house of children. So if you're not literally having children within the next 18 months or so, you're going to be giving birth to something new, that relates to an idea, your creativity. Maybe even start like a genius sort of business. I can see this manifesting as like very like genius energy. So you might have a lot of genius ideas in the next 18 months. And really just being so innovative. I think this is peak Aquarius energy of being very innovative, but instead of just being innovative, you're being really creative, and you might really profit off of that too. And so that's what kind of Rahu / North Node does in the fifth house. I would say it's a pretty positive transit, especially for Aquarius. But with South Node, aka Ketu, what Ketu does in astrology is that it kind of breaks things, right? It kind of detaches you from things. It represents the sense of apathy. So having your South Node transit your 11th house of friends and community, you might have sort of like a breaking up of or detachment from your community, detachment from friends. Maybe you have a friend group you were a part of for like the past 18 months and then it's just gone like that. And that's kind of like what Ketu does / South Node. It kind of gets rid of things. Ketu really represents breaking things, like really cutting things off in Vedic astrology in sort of like a metaphorical way and a literal way too. So maybe you're just cutting people off, especially people that don't align with your goals, your dreams, or wishes. 11th house does rule goals, dreams, and wishes. So you might have sort of like a detachment with that, or kind of like a more objective view of like your goals and hopes and dreams and wishes. I feel like you're going to be more in that like childish energy of just wanting to have fun, experience pleasure, enjoy yourself, invent things, create things, do your hobbies. You're not going to be so pressed about like this big vision and manifesting it all the time. I think you might have a bit of a detachment with that actually. And so it's going to be a really like inventive time for you. I think the obviously pro of it is like inventing new things and being creative and innovative and really nurturing, expressing your inner child. But then with the South Node, it kind of represents you being a little bit detached from people, your social circles, your network a little bit. Obviously, I don't think it will be too extreme for you, Aquarius, because naturally you are a very social sign. But obviously, you might experience that detachment, that apathy, and less concentration in the 11th house, I guess, themes of your life. And you might be this also indicates me being a little bit more active online. So I feel like the thing you invent during this time or creative ideas you have might manifest as some sort of online endeavor, online business. Of course, we're in quarantine, and then I feel like within the next couple years, people are going to be starting their own business. Saturn is in Aquarius. So yeah, I feel like the age of Aquarius is really ramping up, and with the age of Aquarius comes this age of inventing things. So you might invent something online, start a new online business, anything like that is going to be really emphasized for you in the next 2 years or so. So that's really exciting. Tell me down below if you felt the shift already. I feel like I've definitely felt the shift of the North Node leaving one house and moving to the other house. So if you felt that shift already, tell me down below. And tell me down below what planets you have in your fifth house, if you have any. And also tell me your moon sign down below. And also go to my Instagram for more astrology updates. And I'll see you, Aquarius, in my next video. Hey Capricorn. So let's get into this reading for you. And we're really going to talk about this nodal shift that just happened on May 5th and how it's really affecting your destiny, your fate, and your direction in life. So as I mentioned in the first timestamp of this video, and as a lot of you guys probably know, recently on May 5th, 2020, the nodes shifted from Cancer and Capricorn to being in Gemini and Sagittarius. So now as we speak right now, on the present day, the nodes are in Gemini and Sagittarius. So the nodes stay in each sign for about 18 months. So we spend a lot of time with the nodes in one part of our birth chart. So for you, Capricorn, the North and South node have been in your 7th and 1st house. So of course, if you're a Capricorn rising watching this, you should be a Capricorn rising watching this, because this video only makes sense for rising signs, really. So for the past about year and some change, you have had the North and South node in your 7th and 1st house. So you've really been experiencing like themes of those houses really magnified in your everyday life. You've been experiencing themes of identity and self and boundaries and everything having to do with that axis, right? And especially since you're a Capricorn, you've really been feeling that heavy karmic energy when you have the South Node in your first house. And also maybe in the past, I can sense for some Capricorns in the past 18 months or so, you've had sort of like a identity change, or maybe you've been kind of detached from your ego a bit, or potentially you've even like reinvented yourself on some level. Maybe you've gotten to a new partnership, a new marriage, even a new engagement. Those kind of things can happen with this first 7th house transit. But on May 5th, a few days ago, the nodes actually shifted into your 6th and your 12th house axis. So we're going to write that down. So North Node, South Node. So obviously now you're dealing with a whole different ball game. The 6th and 12th house axis is way different than the 1st and 7th. And so you have Gemini 6th house naturally, and then you have a Sagittarius 12th house. So 6th and 12th house axis is all about healing. It's about health. So for the next 18 months, you're going to be really focused on those things. You're going to be focused on themes of the 6th house, themes of the 12th house. Maybe you're going on this very spiritual journey. You're immersing yourself in a lot of your spiritual truth. And really just focusing on boundaries and structure and setting structure in your life, creating boundaries in your life. I feel like the 6th and 12th house is so important because without a healthy 6th house, without a healthy 12th house, I feel like things kind of go wacky in our charts, go wacky in our lives. Because like I said, 6th house is very much about structure and health. And when we don't have structure or health in our lives, things get a bit chaotic, which is kind of like 12th house energy. So I feel like you're going to be really focused on developing a sense of structure in your life, really focused on your health, and maybe even having a new diet, a new health regimen, a new health plan. You're really going to be focused on health for the next couple months, or next basically almost 2 years. And then with South Node in the 12th house transiting there, you might have a lot of spiritual experiences, a lot of like meditation, a lot of active dream space life, active dream life. Maybe you're having a lot of past life regressions, things like that. You're going to be really focused on that spiritual aspect, but you're not going to be really too focused on that. You're more so actively focused on the 6th house energy, but you're going to experience themes of the 12th house energy too, which is spirituality. And so for you, Capricorn, I feel like you're also going to be kind of letting go of certain fears and letting go of certain doubts and really letting go of that shadow self. I feel like the 12th house does represent shadow work and our hidden fears, our subconscious mind. So when you have Ketu, South Node transiting there, it really detaches from things. It creates a sense of apathy as well. And so you're really going to experience that detachment from maybe toxic subconscious thoughts, detachment from old fears, doubts, things like that. You're really going to be releasing things like karmically, not really releasing physical things too much, but really just karmically cleaning out your mind. And when you have a clear mind, when you have a healthy 12th house, then you can have a healthy 6th house. And of course, health is a key word with 6th and 12th house. So you're really going to be focused on health, healing, nutrition, diet, exercise. I actually really want to know if you felt that shift on May 5th already. I feel like when the nodes shift the houses, it's automatically like our focus in life is like shifted completely. So maybe in the past like year or so, you've been focused on that 7th house energy of partnerships, relationships, and like things like that. But now you're going to be so focused on health. But tell me down below if you felt the shift already. I feel like some of us might have felt it already because it's such a significant thing. So yeah, you can expect your purpose and destiny and your fate to really go more along the themes of health, healing, creating structure, and releasing subconscious baggage in your life. And for more astrology content, you guys can follow my Instagram at AstroKit, and I'll see you Capricorns in my next video. Okay, hey Sagittarius, so let's talk about this North and South Node shift and how it's going to affect your fate, destiny, and your direction in life. So as you guys know, the North and South Nodes stay in two signs for 18 months. So for the past 18 months, up until May 5th, a few days ago, the North and South Node has been in Cancer and Capricorn. So for you Sagittarius, the North and South Node for the past 18 months has been in your 8th and 2nd house axis. And so you might have been experiencing a lot of themes when it comes to that axis. So of course, the 2nd, 8th house axis deals with money, it deals with finances, your resources versus other people's resources, self-worth versus self-esteem, things like that. You've been dealing with those themes, and it's been kind of a heavy transit for you just because 8th house energy is very significant, it's powerful, it's transformative, it's chaotic, it's unpredictable, right? So you might have been really feeling those themes the past year or so. It's also a very karmic axis as well, so you've been feeling a lot of intensity the past year, almost 2 years, just because of that Capricorn and Cancer South Node being there. But now on May 5th, as of a few days ago, the North Node and the South Node shift into your 1st house and your 7th house axis. So the North and South Node are now sitting in Gemini and Sagittarius, and of course, you being a Sag rising, and you're really going to feel that shift even more significantly than a lot of other people, just because the nodes have kind of returned to your own sign. So what does that mean for you as a Sagittarius is that you're going to be focused a lot on partnerships, on being with other people. You're going to be focused on really relationships in general, one-on-one partnerships. I will say this is kind of like engagement energy, marriage energy. 7th house is the house of marriage. So some of you guys might get into really serious relationships when obviously the North Node transits your 7th house, which is kind of exciting. And so that's obviously not everyone, but that's kind of a significator of Rahu in the 7th. So for the next 18 months, you're going to experience a lot of karmic themes, a lot of themes in general in your life that relate to partnerships, that relate to combining I guess your energy with other people, merging with other people. Really, this sense of collaboration is emphasized with the North Node being in your 7th house. And the interesting thing though is that when Ketu, aka South Node, transits your 1st house, you might have a certain detachment with yourself. You might reinvent yourself. You might maybe have this sort of sense of letting go of your ego. Maybe you're letting go of old versions of yourself. You're really letting go of maybe a version of yourself you thought you were. In Vedic astrology, Ketu, aka the South Node, really represents the sense of breaking things, the sense of disconnect from things, the sense of apathy as well. So you might have a sense of apathy, or apathy might be a major theme in your life for the next 18 months, and really having that kind of almost disconnect with yourself, but maybe disconnect in a sort of egotistical way, if that makes sense. And so when you disconnect from yourself with the Ketu in the 1st house transit, you're really focused more on that other people with that Rahu in the 7th house. And so Rahu also rules obsession in astrology too. So you might be kind of obsessed with relationships in the next 18 months or so. That's why I say it's kind of like a significator of marriage or engagement, things like that. You might have this sudden urge to like want to get married or like want to get engaged or kind of take people seriously romantically, which I know is like a new thing for like Sagittarius energy. I feel like Sag energy can be so independent and like so just autonomous. Like I feel like Sag people don't like need people. I feel like they can be very independent. And so when the North Node goes into your 7th house, it's almost like all of a sudden it's like, wow, I need people, I need to collaborate, I need a partnership, I need marriage, which is kind of like contrasting the Sag archetype a little bit, right? And so you're really focusing on your ability to connect with other people and merge with other people. And I feel like this is really beneficial for Sagittarius specifically. And especially considering you are a Sag rising, if you're watching this, you should be watching this for your rising sign. I don't know if I said that, but rising sign makes the most sense with this video. You're really going to be focused on communication, expressing your truth, especially in relationships. You might be really focused on spiritual truth as well. Ketu does rule kind of the sense of spirituality. So you might be really investing yourself in spirituality, letting go of old versions of yourself, investing yourself in new partnerships, marriage, engagement, things like that. And then I really want to know if you guys have felt that shift already. I've definitely felt it in my own chart, even though it's only been a few days since the nodes have shifted. But tell me down below if you've felt that shift from your 8th house, like we talked about, to your 7th house. And come back to this video with updates if you've maybe gotten married. And the last thing I will say about the North and South node transit in your 7th house, I will say that 7th house is the house of kind of business partnerships too. So you might be really investing yourself in business partnerships, in contracts, in legal work, legal dealings. So that's another thing to watch out for. It's not just like romantic partnerships, but it's also business partnerships, legal dealings, contracts. You might be dealing a lot with that too. And for more astrology content, you guys can head to my Instagram at astrokit, and I'll see you Sagittarius in my next video. Hey Scorpio, so let's get into this nodal shift and how it's going to affect your fate, your destiny, and your life over the next 18 months. And so if you're watching this, you are a Scorpio rising, and for the past 18 months, obviously North and South node, aka Rahu and Ketu, have been in your 9th and your 3rd house axis. So if you're a Scorpio rising, Cancer rules your 9th house, and then Capricorn is your 3rd house automatically. So you've really been dealing with themes relating to that axis of the 9th and 3rd house, which is the axis that represents truth and travel and communication and consciousness expansion and expansion in general, as well as freedom. So you've been dealing with a lot of karmic themes pertaining to that energy, and specifically a lot of themes pertaining to Capricorn and Cancer, right? But on May 5th, just a few days ago, and as we speak right now, the nodes actually sit in Gemini and Sagittarius. So they shifted signs, and that represents a huge shift in our lives, a huge shift in fate and destiny. And we're going to talk about what that means for you, Scorpio. So for you, Scorpio rising, the North node now sits in your 8th house, and it sits in the 2nd house. The South node sits in your 2nd house. So here's what your chart looks like right about now. And so this energy is very familiar for you just because 8th house is naturally the house associated with Scorpio. So this energy is very familiar for you. So when it comes to this shift of Gemini and Sagittarius being in your 8th and 2nd house now, you're really going to have to deal with a lot of 8th and 2nd house themes. So I won't lie, the 8th house is a very intense house. It's a very transformative house. It's an unpredictable house. It's a house that really represents this theme of sudden change, sudden transformation. It's also a very karmic house as well. So over the next 18 months, you might be dealing with a lot of karmic situations, maybe clearing out a lot of karma, just like a lot of unexpected things, a lot of unexpected losses, unexpected gains. Extremes is going to be a huge theme, like extreme loss, extreme gain. 8th house transits aren't really pleasant, I won't lie to you guys, but you being a Scorpio, I feel like you already know about 8th house energy and you can like tough it out. But I will say it's pretty hard just because with 8th house transits, it's almost like you don't know what's coming next. It's like you turn the corner, one thing happens, you turn the next corner, another thing happens. It's very shifty, very unpredictable sort of energy. And so on another level, what you're going to be really focused on with this nodal shift is this sense of developing your own spiritual power. This is a time especially where you're really digging deep into your own subconscious mind. You're finding out very deep spiritual truth, going on this sort of like research, probing kind of journey. And again, I feel like that's naturally very scorpionic sort of energy. It's like all about research. 8th house also rules research as well. And then Rahu being here represents somebody who is like very research oriented, someone who's always digging for things. And then I feel like the fact that the North and South node are in Sag and Gemini, which is all about information and truth. You're really digging deep for information, digging deep for truth. 8th house Rahu transit is a very like digging deep sort of energy. And that's what you're going to be focused on. It's going to be like this very intense spiritual time for you where you're really focused like on this psychology and like delving deep for things. And then on a more mundane level, you might be focused a bit on finances too. Obviously 2nd, 6th house, 2nd, 8th house axis is about finances as well. So I will say it's kind of hard for finances just because, again, there's this theme of sudden gains, sudden losses. So you might experience a certain dynamic of sudden gains of wealth and then sudden losses of wealth. In Vedic astrology, Ketu, aka the South Node, represents the breaking of things, the detaching of things. It represents a certain sense of apathy. So when you have Ketu transiting the second house, you might just like not care about money. Maybe you're not as focused on finances as much as you have been. You're more so focused on that spiritual truth, that spiritual power, kind of developing your spiritual mind overall, and really focused on this untangible and unseeable aspect of life, and less focused on like the material world, if that makes sense. So Ketu is a sign where it doesn't really immerse itself in the material world, whereas Rahu is the sign that is obsessed with the material world. So you might be really obsessed with the spiritual world and then more detached with the material world during this 18-month period for you. So I feel like the challenge there is just kind of with money overall and kind of managing money. I feel like you're gonna either really try to gain control of your finances and be successful with that, or you might just kind of have a little bit of a sort of unraveling with your finances. And obviously you probably will experience both extremes, because that's what this 8th house is about, is like extremes. So you might experience the extreme of like having your finances kind of unravel a bit and then getting it together, and then maybe they unravel again. There's this huge theme of like just kind of chaos and transformation with finances and wealth. But it is a good time where it's like you might gain financially from other people. A lot of times with Rahu in the 8th house, you can gain through inheritance, you can gain through insurance, gain through, especially given now, I feel like a lot of people are getting their student loans forgived, and like they're getting refunds on things and just getting, I don't know, random lump sums of money, just given the like economy we're in. So specifically for Scorpios, I can see a lot of you guys having that sort of thing happen in your life where you get random checks, random forgiveness with loans, random insurance loans or checks, things like that. You might experience that with Rahu in the 8th, whereas you might have a little bit of loss of control with your own personal finances, but you might gain from other people or indirectly from inheritance and insurance and things like that. So I feel like you might be really focused on securing your finances, managing your money, but really you're going to be really immersing yourself into this psychology of your own mind, immersing yourself into spiritual truth, gaining spiritual knowledge. You might embark on a new research project. Even if you're somebody who's not like into research at all, you might be really investing yourself into research projects. So tell me down below if you felt that North Node shift from your 9th house energy to your 8th house energy, and tell me down below if you guys have any planets in those houses. And also follow me on Instagram for more astrology content, and I'll see you Scorpios in my next video. Okay, hey Libra, so let's talk about this nodal shift and how it will affect your destiny, your fate, and really the course of your life in the next 18 months. So as you guys probably know, and as I explained in the first timestamp of this video, the North and South Node has been in Cancer and Capricorn for the past 18 months. And then on May 5th, and as we speak right now, the nodes sit in Gemini and Sagittarius. So they completely changed signs. So when the nodes shift, our life shifts quite a bit, because the nodes kind of rule our fate, our destiny, and really the course of our life. So we're really going to talk about what this change of course means for Libra specifically, and even more specifically Libra rising. I will specify that this applies mostly to rising. It doesn't really make sense for sun signs. So let's get into it. So for the past 18 months, you've had your North Node sitting in your 10th house because you have a Cancer 10th house, and then you've had your South Node in the 4th house, which is Capricorn. So for Libra risings, obviously you have a Cancer midheaven, most likely, and then you have a Capricorn 4th house. So you've been really dealing with the themes of the 10th and 4th house, which you probably already know is all about career, and then 4th house is about family. So you've been really focused on career more so because the North Node has been sitting there, and you've been focused on your reputation and gaining status and gaining recognition, and really focused on your public life since the North Node has been sitting so high up in your chart. But that's all changing because on May 5th, the node shifted into your 9th house. So now what's going to happen is that you're going to be really focused on more so that 9th house, 3rd house axis energy. And so obviously those are the natural houses of Sagittarius and Gemini, and the nodes are actually in Sagittarius and Gemini. So you're going to really feel almost like that double influence of Sag Gemini energy. And what is the ninth house all about? It's about truth, freedom, expansion. Expansion is the biggest word and like most key word with like ninth house transits. So during the next 18 months, you're going to be really focused on expansion, really focused on really expression of truth. Obviously with third house energy, Gemini energy, even ninth house energy, it's all about expressing things, getting things off your chest. When you have ninth house placements or third house placements, it's kind of hard for you to like keep things quiet or keep things to yourself, especially if you have like Sun in the ninth house, or if you have like Mercury in the ninth house. You're probably someone who is very expressive naturally. And so for Libra risings for the next 18 months, I sense for you guys really like this focus on expansion. Maybe you're like writing really significant things. Maybe you're engaging more in marketing. Ninth house represents marketing, third house is writing too, so you might be doing those kind of things over the next 18 months. Ninth house is also higher education, so you might be embarking on a new maybe you're trying to get a new degree, learn a new language. That's another thing too. Actually, let me write this down. Why didn't I write it down earlier? But yeah, so with North Node, aka Rahu in Vedic astrology, Rahu represents foreign things, foreign travel, anything foreign, right? So North Node, anything foreign. And then ninth house represents travel. So you can be going on a lot of long distance trips, foreign travel. Obviously, once Corona like dies down a bit, if it dies down, you're gonna really feel that urge to want to travel, to expand your mind, expand your resources. Maybe you go abroad, maybe you like study abroad, or you try to find programs abroad. Either way, you're going to be really focused on the sense of foreign travel or just foreign ideas, foreign knowledge. You can be someone who is like a high schooler now, and maybe you're graduating high school and you really want to go to a certain college or invest yourself in some sort of educational program after high school. Either way, there's this really focused energy on education, knowledge, foreign travel in general, and really just expanding your mind. Also in the next 18 months, some of you guys can like learn a new language too, especially with Rahu in the ninth house. I feel like it's a good time to like learn foreign languages. It's a pretty good, like, I feel like if you try to learn a language within the next 18 months, if you don't know another language already, you would learn it much easily, if that makes sense. I will say that Rahu and Ketu being in the ninth and third house axis is a pretty good placement. It's not, I feel like Rahu does pretty well in the ninth house, and then Ketu does pretty well in the third house. So it's a pretty good transit for Libra risings, I would say. And then also this could be a time where you're kind of letting go of old habits. I will say that Ketu represents, aka South Node, Ketu represents this sense of detachment, apathy, breaking of things. So you can be like kind of breaking off certain habits. Third house is habits, daily routines. So maybe you're just doing things completely differently. You're doing things in a more revolutionary way, in a more different way. There's a huge change of fate scheduled for Libras, and whatever your life looks like right now, it's not going to look like that in 18 months, like completely different. I feel like you're going to be totally shocked with how your life will be in the next year or so. And obviously ninth house is the house of destiny as well. So there's just like this energy of your destiny just rerouting completely. And it might have to do with travel or going to distant lands or learning new things that change your life, that change your mind. Really this huge change of perspective, this spiritual awakening, you know, consciousness ascension, waking up. Like there's that huge theme for Libra risings, and a lot of action is going to happen in the next 18 months for you. So I'm really excited for Libra risings. Actually, I feel like if anything really significant happens in the next 18 months, and if you guys like move or anything, you guys can come back to this video and comment and tell me down below. Obviously, once travel becomes more accessible, come back and tell me if like you travel to distant lands or go study abroad or something like that. And tell me down below also if you felt the nodes shift already. I feel like I personally have felt the nodes like shift from my house to the next house, but if you felt that shift from your 10th house to your 9th house, comment down below. Also go to my Instagram at astrokit for more astrology content. and I'll see you Libras in my next video. Hey Virgo, so let's get into this nodal shift and really talk about how it's going to change your fate, your destiny, and really manifest in your life over the next 18 months. So as I explained in the first timestamp of this video, when it comes to timing and meaning of the North and South Node, the North and South Node stays in 2 signs for 18 months. So for the past 18 months, they've been in Cancer and Capricorn. And now as we speak on May 7th of today, they sit in Gemini and Sagittarius. So they've completely shifted signs and shifted houses in our birth chart. So when they shift signs, our life completely shifts as well. And we're going to talk about what that means for Virgo specifically. So for you, Virgo, obviously Cancer and Capricorn lies in your 11th and 5th house axis in your birth chart. So for the past 18 months, you could have been dealing with a lot of themes as it pertains to 11th and 5th house energy. So 11th house is social groups, social networking, the internet as well. 5th house is all about children and also our creativity, creative hobbies, things like that. So you could have been dealing with more so energy pertaining to that axis. But as of May 5th, the North and South Node shift to your 10th house and your 4th house axis, which is pretty exciting for you, just because North Node being up here means a lot for your career and your destiny as it pertains to your career, your legacy, and your goals overall. And so what this means for you, Virgo, and how your life and destiny is going to shift is that you're going to be way more focused on career, focused on your public life. The 10th house represents our reputation. It represents fame, our relationship with the public. So that's what you're going to be really consumed with in the next 18 months. And obviously North Node, aka Rahu, in Vedic astrology, Rahu rules obsession. It rules desires. So you're really going to be chasing after those desires as it pertains to career, really chasing those career goals, professional goals. There's a lot of emphasis focused on your professional life for the next 18 months. And I will say too that you might be really obsessed with your image, obsessed with how you appear publicly. It's almost like this energy of like building an empire or like trying to build some sort of legacy. That's what you're really going to be consumed with. And so the significant thing that happens with this energy as well is that the South Node, aka Ketu, Ketu in Vedic astrology rules apathy. It rules the sense of breaking of things, detaching from things. So although you might be really focused and obsessed with your career, you might be a little bit detached and less obsessive with your home and family life. So you might have a little bit of detachment there, detachment with your family. Maybe you're less, immersed in family life. Maybe you're not as consumed with other people in your family, but really just focused on your own goals, your own legacy, your own reputation, less focused on your private life. So there's this huge energy for you for the next 18 months of like public life and being focused on that rather than just home life. You might be a little bit detached from your home actually. You might even move away from home or just find yourself not really immersed in that sort of lifestyle. And so you're also kind of reinventing your brand. I will say that Rahu in astrology represents the sense of invention and innovation. So you might be reinventing your brand, starting a new business. I feel like we talked about that in your yearly prediction for 2020 is like starting a new business. So yeah, I feel like Virgos, you're really going to be working on that new business. Maybe you started a new business during Corona, like during the past month or so, or at least you had the idea for one, and now you're taking action to manifest that. Just because Rahu really represents the sense of action, taking this obsessive desire and putting it into play into your real life. So I feel like for Virgos, you're really going to be focused on career and manifesting those creative ideas you have and really working on your brand and your reputation. And it's going to be a time where you gain a lot of recognition and fame for what you do on a career level. The only thing is that you just won't be as focused on your home life. You might not even be at home literally that much for the next 18 months. And you're going to be also letting go of like anything that holds you back. I feel like 4th and 10th house is such a significant axis because it represents like our past versus our future. So you're really focused on your future, focused on your legacy with this 10th house being so activated for you, Virgo. And then 4th house is like the past. So you might be letting go of the past, past timelines, past people, just anything that weighs you down. You're just like, I gotta go. I have this brand to build. I have this empire to build. And I really see Virgos building their empires in the next 18 months. So it's really exciting for you, Virgo. Tell me down below if you've felt that in the past few days. I know that the nodes only shift on May 5th, so it's only been a few days, but I feel like a lot of you guys might have felt that shift already, or that urge already to like want to work more on your business, professional life, career life. Tell me down below if you felt like that. And then come back to this video and comment if you've like built an empire, because I feel like that's going to happen for a lot of Virgos, is like you might build a successful business in the next 18 months. So come back to this video and let me know, and then head to my Instagram at AstroKit for more astrology content. And I'll see you Virgos in my next video. Hey Leo, so let's talk about this nodal shift and how it affects your fate, your destiny, and the course of your life. So as you guys have probably known or have heard, the nodes have actually shifted from Cancer and Capricorn, and now they are in Gemini and Sagittarius. So we're going to talk about what that shift means for you, Leo, and what it means for your life and your destiny and your fate. And so let's just get into it. I have your birth chart here. And like I mentioned in the first timestamp of this video, when it comes to timing and meaning of the North and South node, obviously the North and South nodes stay in 2 signs for 18 months approximately. So they stay there for a good chunk of time. And while the nodes are there, our life really reflects the themes of those signs, the themes of those houses that they're in, if that makes sense. And so now that they're shifting signs and houses, a whole different part of your life is going to be activated. A whole different part of your life is going to be revealed to you within these next 18 months. So let's talk about what that means for you, Leo. Specifically Leo rising, though. This doesn't work for like Leo suns. Leo rising only. And so for the past 18 months, actually, the North and South node has been in your 12th and 6th house axis, which is a very significant transit for you. You might have felt a lot of energy pertaining to the 12th and 6th house axis themes. So obviously themes of spirituality, health, and healing, just really deep spiritual cleansing is a huge theme with 12th house transits. It might have been a very intense time for you, a time of shedding old karma, shedding old timelines, just really this significant time of change for you in your life for the past 18 months, with the nodes being in your 12th and 6th house. However, as we speak today, and obviously starting on May 5th, a few days ago, the nodes shifted into your 11th and 5th house axis. So let's write that down. So as we speak, the North node is in your 11th house, and then the South node's in your 5th house. So what this means is that in the next 18 months, you're going to experience a lot of things pertaining to the 11th house themes, and then themes pertaining to the 5th house as well. And so you're going to be really focused on your goals. You're going to be focused on your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, really focused on this vision. I feel like vision is the major keyword we've been talking about with Leo placements for the past couple months. I feel like in your April predictions, we talked about that, where it's like you have this vision that you really want to manifest, and you're really going to take active action to manifest your vision in life. 11th house represents our grand vision. It's not just some like superficial manifestation. It's not just something materialistic. 11th house transits really represent this manifestation of our kind of destiny and what we really want to see for ourselves. And so North Node, aka Rahu, Rahu is what the North Node is called in Vedic astrology, and Rahu represents obsession. It represents desires. So you're really going to be focused on your goals, your desires. You're going to have this almost tunnel vision, obsessive focus on what you want to manifest into your life, and the sense of success and gaining things. 11th house represents gains as well. So you're really focused on gaining things. You might have extreme gains as well, extreme influx of money, influx of gaining from other people, because 11th house does kind of rule those things. So this is really exciting for you just because like you've had that 12th house transit, which can be kind of chaotic, but 11th house is a lot better energy because 11th house is a very auspicious house in astrology. And so also 11th house is all about friendship. It's about teamwork. It's about community. It's about the awareness of the impact you have on other people. So you might be really focused on connecting with like-minded people. You might be building some sort of team, becoming a part of some sort of group. Maybe if you've been really isolated with that 12th house transit, 12th house does rule isolation. It rules the sense of imprisonment and loneliness. So if you were feeling a little bit lonely, cut off from people, that's going to really change now that the node is changing into your 11th house. You're going to connect with people, create things with people. I feel like this sense of really connecting with people, not just connecting with people, but connecting with people based on a common goal. Connecting with people to achieve something. So those can be major themes that might happen to you in the next 18 months, which, like I said, is pretty exciting. Obviously going from the 12th house, which is kind of like insidious and chaotic and whatever. You guys can explain that in the comments. But I feel like you're going to be really focused on collaborating with like-minded people, making new friends. I feel like this is the transit where you make new friends, just meet a whole different set of people. 11th house does rule internet as well, and then Rahu represents technology and internet too. So you can be really maybe gaining a lot of popularity on social media. Maybe you're starting an online brand. Maybe you're connecting with people through social groups on social media, or like joining Facebook groups. Anything with internet, I feel like you're going to be really immersed into the internet world, into the technology world, I guess. And that can manifest through social media, Facebook, YouTube. Either way, I feel like it's a good time for you. Like if you wanted to like start a YouTube channel, I could see that for some of you guys, or develop some sort of online brand, anything like that. I feel like you'd really excel with that during the next 18 months, starting obviously on May 5th. And so let's talk about that South Node a little bit. So the South Node is obviously very opposite than the North Node. So like I said, Rahu rules obsession, whereas Ketu, South Node, rules detachment. Ketu is this sense of apathy, this sense of like, I don't really care about that, right? And so with the South Node transiting your 5th house, you might detach a little bit from, I would say, like your own inner child or your own creativity. I feel like there's this sense of connecting with people and connecting with larger groups, and I guess really detaching from your own egotistical wants and needs and desires. I feel like the 5th house is more so really focused on self and your own self-expression, but when you have Ketu there, the planet of detachment and apathy, you might have more apathy and detachment with your own ego and your own, I guess, creative expression, and really focused on other people's expression, or really focused on collaborating with other people and expressing through a group rather than just yourself, if that makes sense. So you might be really letting go of old hobbies, old creative habits. Maybe you've had certain hobbies within the past 18 months or so, but now you're going to gain a whole new set of hobbies, new interests, new goals, new hopes, new dreams, new wishes, and really letting go of old hobbies, letting go of old things you used to do, and just kind of shifting into this whole new paradigm of being with new people and adjusting your identity to these people that you're around or social groups you're in now, and letting go of those old ego ways that you used to be in. So tell me down below if you felt this shift from your 12th to 11th house. I feel like that's a huge like weight lifted from you, kind of metaphorically, spiritually, mentally. So tell me if you felt that shift already, even though it's only been a few days. And then tell me if you have like 11th house planets, 5th house planets. I forgot to mention that 5th and 11th house is obviously the natural axis of Leo and Aquarius. So you're really going to feel that Leo energy magnified and Aquarius energy specifically magnified with your North Node and the 11th house. And then also I will say, since you have a Gemini 11th house naturally, you're really going to be focused on communication, truth, and expressing your truth. I will say it's a very optimistic transit for you. So like I said earlier, the 12th house is kind of dreary and lonely, but the 11th house is very optimistic and it wants to see the best outcome. And I feel like that's what you're really going to be focused on, is the best outcome. And that's really how your fate and destiny is going to change within the next 18 months. So I'm actually really excited for Leos. Tell me down below if you felt the shift already. And then also follow me on Instagram for more astrology content. And I'll see you Leos in my next video. Okay, hey Cancer. So let's talk about this nodal shift that just happened on May 5th, and we're going to talk about how that shifts your destiny, your fate, and the course of your life. So as you guys know, the North and South Node in astrology is so important because they represent our fate, our destiny, and really our purpose in life. And so when the nodes shift signs, then our life shifts in correspondence with the north and south node. So there's a huge shift going on in all of our lives, and we're going to talk about what that means for you, Cancer rising, watching this. And this is so significant for Cancer risings specifically because the past 18 months, the north and south node has been in your 1st and 7th house axis. Now, as I mentioned in the first timestamp of this video, I talked more about the timing of the nodes and the meaning of them if you don't know already. But when it comes to timing, the north and south nodes stay in 2 signs for about 18 months. For a good chunk of time, they stay in those signs, and in our birth charts, they stay in a certain house axis for that chunk of time. So since the nodes shift, the north and south node actually moved from your 1st, 7th house axis to the 12th and 6th house axis. So we're going to talk about what those axes are all about, what those houses are about, and what that changes in your life. So I have your chart right here. So first, let's do a little recap of the past 18 months for you. So the past 18 months, you've had the north node in your 1st house, and then the south node in your 7th house. So you might have been really experiencing a lot of themes pertaining to the 1st house. 1st house is all about identity. It's about self. It's about developing yourself. So in the past 18 months, you could have been really focused on yourself, focused on your own identity, forging a new identity for yourself, building yourself up in an entire new way, working on self-esteem, things like that. And then obviously with South Node in the 7th house, the past 18 months or so, you've been maybe breaking up with certain people, breaking up with friends or relationships, romantic or non-romantic. There could have been a lot of karmic sort of endings with people, detaching from people, and really more so being focused on yourself, your journey, your approach to the world, 1st house, rather than being too invested in relationships. So you've been experiencing a lot of 1st and 7th house themes in your life the past 18 months due to the nodes being in those houses. But as of May 5th, the nodes actually shift to your 12th and 6th house axis. So let's write that down. Now this is so significant for you just because obviously the nodes were in your home sign, like in your home axis. You're Cancer rising. The node was in Cancer. So you've been experiencing a lot of heavy changes, a lot of heavy shifts, a lot of karmic shifts, a lot of changes of fate, destiny, things like that have been so pivotal in your life, Cancer. But let's talk about your new life, this new life you're stepping into, this new path you're forging for yourself. So the 12th and 6th house axis is all about spirituality. It's about health, routine, diet, and 12th house specifically is about spirituality, isolation, subconscious thoughts, hidden fears. So with the north node being here in the next 18 months or so, you're going to be really focused on your own spiritual journey, your own healing journey. Health is going to be huge for you in the next 18 months or so. I will say this is kind of challenging because it represents some health issues. We'll talk about the south node really quickly in a second, but let's talk about that north node. So north node, aka Rahu in Vedic astrology. Rahu and north node are the same thing, just different words. And so with Rahu in Vedic astrology, it rules obsession, it rules desires. So you might be really obsessed and have a lot of kind of focused, desirous sort of energy on your own spirituality. And you might be really feeling the sense of wanting to be alone, wanting to escape. The 12th house is a very nebulous energy. It's a very insidious energy. It's like that energy that is sort of like quicksand. It doesn't have structure to it. It kind of escapes you. Whatever goes in the 12th house doesn't come out. I feel like I said that in another video, but yeah, in the 12th house, it's kind of just very insidious. It's energy you can't really grasp. So over the next 18 months, you might experience those themes of like wanting to feel isolated, wanting to escape, wanting to create structure, but then everything falls apart. There's this huge karmic sort of clearing out when it comes to 12th house transits. So I won't lie, this is a pretty challenging transit just because it represents a lot of like maybe feeling lonely, feeling isolated, wanting to escape. Maybe this is a time where you go to foreign lands, In Vedic astrology, Rahu, aka the North Node, represents foreign lands, anything foreign. 12th house represents foreign lands as well. So this could be a time where you go on specifically like a, what do you call it? Like a pilgrimage. You go to like an ashram, or even really any variation of that. Maybe you immerse yourself into a religion, spirituality. You go on some, I guess, I don't know, you go some, what is it called? It's like a religious retreat, spiritual retreat, a yoga retreat, anything like that where you are retreating, maybe in a foreign land, somewhere that is foreign to you, new country, new state, anything like that. That's what you might be doing over the next 18 months. And there's this huge like spiritual theme for you. It's almost like you're chasing this spiritual destiny. You're really aligning with that spiritual destiny. That's really what's consuming you in the next 18 months or so. And like I said, Rahu, North Node, it rules obsession. So expect for your energy and attention to be really on that 12th house energy. And obviously 12th house energy can be kind of insidious and messy and just not structured. But after the 12th house transit ends is when you see it, when you see things more clearly. So expect that for the next 18 months, which is quite the ride, right? But when it comes to Ketu, aka the South Node, now Ketu in Vedic astrology rules detachment, it rules apathy, it rules breaking of things, breaking away from things, cutting things off, right? And with the 6th house transit, with Ketu in the 6th house, it really represents this cutting off of maybe structure in your life. Again, I feel like you're gonna have this urge to just want to like immerse yourself in spirituality. Like it's almost like that energy of someone who just like cuts off all their hair and then goes on like a pilgrimage to like India, which is like an extreme thing and probably something I saw in a movie, but that's kind of like the same vibe I get with North Node, South Node transit being in your 12th and 6th house. Is really that energy of just going off on your own and finding your own self, your own spiritual self, right? And forgetting your daily life. And 6th house represents daily life, daily routines, health. And so there's that real detachment, real cutting off, real apathy when it comes to structure, daily life, work. Maybe you're going to just be like, I don't care about work. I don't care about my career. I just care about my spirituality right now. That's what I need to focus on. And if that's how you feel, then that's how you should feel, just because that's what the North Node is kind of triggering in your life for the next 18 months. And I will say you have to watch out for health, just because this can lead to kind of disregarding your health, detaching from your health, detaching from your healthy routines. This can be a time where it's like you find it really hard to keep up with your health, or really hard to keep up with daily life, daily routines, because you want to be so immersed in this nebulous, fantastical, imaginative energy of the 12th house. So really be careful of illusions and falling for illusions and being deceived. Rahu does rule illusions too. 12th house is the house of illusions, sort of. So yeah, really be careful of that theme of illusions. And I feel like you're going to be less inclined to want to have structure in your life over the next 18 months. And it's going to be quite the ride for Cancer rising specifically. And I'm actually really curious to know if you guys have felt that transit already, if you felt the shift from your first house to your 12th house. Obviously that's a huge jump. So if you felt that in the last few days, tell me down below. If you felt the urge to like go on a spiritual journey, tell me down below, or come back to the comments if you do go on some like spiritual pilgrimage in the next 18 months. And then also I will say the nodes are obviously shifting from Cancer Capricorn to Gemini Sagittarius. So again, there's that kind of like almost double influence of spirituality. I feel like with your 6th house being in Sag is a very spiritual energy on its own, and then Ketu is a very spiritual planet, and then obviously 12th house is a spiritual house. So you're really having this very spiritual theme and timeline and storyline being injected and triggered into your life. And I feel like with a Gemini 12th house, you're gonna have this urge to really delve deep into spiritual information, discover spiritual knowledge. It's almost like you care more about spiritual knowledge in the next 18 months than you do care about like reality. I can almost imagine you like, I don't know, caring more about like astrology and tarot and like learning about your past lives than caring about like what you have to do to make money. I almost feel like you're going to be really almost rejecting like your daily responsibilities and like mundane things that people focus on in a regular sense, and more so focused on the kind of intangible spiritual knowledge that really fulfills you from within, rather than just like external things. Within the next 18 months, you're focused really on this inner spiritual self rather than external self. So I think the biggest thing though is like be careful with health and stuff, and be careful with like disregarding your health or detaching from your own routines, and not falling too victim to illusions and deception is like the thing with the 12th house North Node Rahu thing going on. So yeah, come back to this video and tell me if you experienced any of those things. Tell me if you felt the shift already from your 1st to 12th house, and head to my Instagram for more astrology content, and I'd love to see you Cancers in my next video. Okay, hey Gemini, so let's talk about this nodal shift that just happened on May 5th. And we're going to talk about how this changes your destiny, your fate, and really the course of your life. So as we talked about in the beginning timestamp of this video, when it comes to timing and when it comes to the signs of the nodes stay in 2 signs for 18 months. So they've been in these signs of Cancer and Capricorn for the past 18 months or so. So they spend a good chunk of time in those signs, and in our birth charts, it spends a good chunk of time in a certain house in our chart. And when the nodes shift, our life shifts completely. So we're going to talk about what that means for you, Gemini rising specifically. This video really applies to Gemini rising, not really Gemini sun. So I have your birth chart here, Gemini, so let's talk about it. So like I said, Cancer and Capricorn is your 2nd and 8th house axis. So on May 5th, the nodes shift to Gemini and Sagittarius, which is basically your home sign and your sister sign. So this is really significant for you, Gemini, specifically, just because the nodes are returning to basically your home sign. So you're really going to feel that shift very significantly. So the nodes are going to be sitting in your 1st house and 7th house axis. And what is that axis all about? It's about self versus others, your identity, your physical body versus other people, and your relationships with people. So the past 18 months, just to do a recap, your nodes have been sitting in the 2nd and 8th house. So maybe you've been experiencing themes of money and themes of inheritance, themes of transformation. The 2nd and 8th house is a pretty intense axis, I would say, just because 8th house does trigger a lot of like unexpected gains, unexpected losses, extremes. Anything unexpected you can really see with 8th house energy. And so 2nd house energy is about finance and really the material world, I'd say. And it's also about family and speech, and really about the sense of money and resources, right? So maybe that was your focus for the past 18 months, but now with the nodal shift into your 1st house, you're going to be focused on yourself, other people, as well as relationships and your identity. So let's really unpack the next 18 months for you and what you can really expect in your destiny and your fate and your life, and really the course your life will even take, right? So Gemini and Sagittarius and that entire axis is all about truth. It's about information. As a Gemini yourself, you already know about Gemini energy. It's all about communicating things and talking with people, expressing your ideas. And so there's going to be a huge emphasis of that with the North Node in your 1st house, and 1st house is all about self. It's about identity. So you're going to be really focused on expressing yourself, expressing your truth. Sagittarius, your sister sign, is all about truth, expression, expansion of consciousness. So you could be really focused on that for the next 18 months. And I will say North Node is also known as Rahu in Vedic astrology. And Rahu is all about obsession. Rahu represents desires. Rahu represents this very inventive, electric, almost energy, and doing things differently. And so when you have that in your 1st house, you're really going to feel that sense of wanting to do things differently, wanting to change things up, wanting to change your appearance. By the end of this 18th month period, you can expect to maybe look completely different than you do now. because first house is our physical body, our hair, our face, etc. So maybe you change your appearance, you get a whole new identity, you just really rebrand yourself, I would say. Also, you might be really obsessed with kind of how you approach life, obsessed with your status in life. I feel like when the North Node transits the first house, we're really kind of obsessed with just ourselves in a sense, but not really ourselves, just like literally, but obsessed with how we do things, obsessed with how we appear to people. So you can be really obsessed with kind of that aspect of yourself, and also just doing things differently with how you approach things. Maybe you're really motivated to achieve your goals. North Node Rahu energy is very ambitious. It wants to accomplish things. It wants to really cause change and shifts in our life, right? So you're gonna have this really almost burning urge to want to change your life, be ambitious, accomplish things, communicate your truth, communicate yourself, exchange information. This is a time where you're just getting a lot of creative ideas. Rahu represents invention too, so it could be a time where you're really reinventing yourself, inventing new things. Maybe you have a really inventive idea that you turn into a business or you turn into some sort of project. There's this huge emphasis on invention, reinvention, doing things differently, and really just changing yourself for the better, I feel like. And just really just completely is like, it's like the TikTok where it's like, did a full 180. And so yeah, you're doing like a full 180 with this Rahu North Node in the first house. So let's kind of talk about what that South Node is going to do. So South Node, aka Ketu in astrology, South Node is called Ketu in Vedic astrology, represents detachment. It represents apathy. It represents breaking of things, letting go of things. Ketu is an energy that isn't really attached to the material world, whereas Rahu is really obsessed with the material world. So usually wherever Rahu is, it represents an obsession with that thing. So hence obsession with your self-appearance and the way you approach things, but Ketu is kind of detached from things. So having Ketu being in your 7th house for the next 18 months, you might be really detached from certain people, relationships. You might break up with people. You can have this sense of like not really wanting to deal with people in a sense, or kind of being like, okay, like I'm over that, or having this really kind of distant energy with people overall, and maybe even clearing out some people that just don't belong with you anymore, or people that, let's say you reinvent yourself, maybe you let go of people who no longer align with that new version of yourself. So there's that huge detachment, kind of sense of apathy with other people, relationships, maybe some breakups, but it's kind of like necessary breakups because this is the North and South Node we're talking about, so it is very destined, right? Destined breakups, destined, I guess, reconciliations, destined things like that. You're going to see a lot of destiny really happen in your life, front and center, since you have the North and South Node in your home sign. And so something I will add to is that kind of just, I feel like you're just paving your own way with this energy. I feel like when it comes to Gemini energy, it's very collaborative. It wants to listen to other people. It takes in criticism and people's opinions. But with South Node in the 7th house, it kind of disregards people's opinions. So this is kind of like rebellious sort of energy too, where it's like you want to rebel, be your own person, forge your own identity, and not really listen to other people, which is represented by 7th house South Node transit. So I definitely feel like you're doing like that full 180 that we talked about, and you're not letting yourself be influenced by others too much. You're really just paving your own path in your life, and it's going to be really exciting to see what you accomplish by the end of this 18 months when you really forge this new identity for yourself and do it in an authentic way that is very inventive with your personality. And I will say the exciting thing about this, especially for Gemini, I feel like it introduces a lot of decisiveness into your life. And for you as a Gemini, I feel like I said, you can be kind of collaborative with other people and maybe indecisive, and have your mind kind of waver from idea to idea or decision to decision, but I feel like Rahu in the first house is a very like decisive, I'm doing this, I'm rebelling, period, no one's going to influence me, and that's kind of like your energy for the next 16 months or about 18 months or so. So it's going to be a really exciting time for you. Tell me down below if you felt that shift at all from your second to first house, because I feel like for a lot of people we can feel it already, even though it just happened on May 5th a few days ago. I feel like that when the nodes shift, it's almost very instant. So you might have felt that instant shift from focusing on finances to focusing on self and personality, reinventing yourself. Tell me down below if you felt that at all in the past few days. And then for more astrology content, you guys can head to my Instagram at astrokit, and I will see you Geminis in my next video. Hey Taurus, so let's talk about this nodal shift that just happened and how it will affect your destiny, your fate, and really change the course of your life. So as you guys know, the North and South Node are such important points in our birth chart because it really indicates fate, destiny, our purpose in life, and really the course our life will take on a very karmic level, and things that are really just destined to happen in our life. So for the past 18 months, the North and South Node has been in Cancer and Capricorn, so we've been experiencing themes related to that axis and those two zodiac signs. However, on May 5th, the nodes shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius, so the next signs within that sequence. And so when the nodes shift, our life shifts in a very major way, and we're going to talk about what that means for Taurus and what part of your life is really activated, triggered, and what you're going to see unfold in your life in the next 18 months. So let's do a little recap about your past 18 months and kind of like what your life has been like in the past and how this shift will kind of change everything you've known so far. So for you as a Taurus rising specifically, I will add that this is for Taurus rising people, not Taurus sun. It doesn't make sense for Taurus sun, it makes sense for Taurus risings. You have Cancer as your third house, and then you have Capricorn as your ninth house. So the shift is happening between your third and second house. So for the past 18 months, you could have been experiencing a lot of themes pertaining to third and ninth house things. So travel, expansion, maybe things having to do with your family, things having to do with your daily routine, everything having to do with information and truth, expansion, destiny, things like that, having to do with the third and ninth house axis you've been really dealing with for the past 18 months, right? But on May 5th, that all changed because the North Node shifts to your second and eighth house axis. So let's write that down so you get a good picture of what I'm talking about. So you're experiencing that shift from like this communication-based sort of, I guess, lifestyle or experiences, and travel and information, things relating to third house. And now you're focusing more on finance. You're focused more on resources. You're focused more on things related to second house. And so I will say this is I would say this is kind of like a comfortable transition for you, Taurus, just because second house naturally rules Taurus. So I feel like second house is naturally like your stomping grounds. You're usually like focused on money and your values and the material world, right? I feel like Taurus is very good at the material world, I'd say. And so we're going to talk about basically what that means for you and how that will unfold in your life. So for you, Taurus, I feel like you're going to be really focused on your finances, your budget, your financial goals. And the North Node in astrology, in Western astrology, is called the North Node, but in Vedic astrology, it's called Rahu. And so in Vedic astrology, Rahu rules obsession. It rules desires. Wherever Rahu is, it's like this insatiable desire you want to fulfill in a sense. So over the next 18 months, I can sense this obsession or desire with financial goals, financial accomplishment, financial achievement. You're just all about finance. You're all about material, physical wealth. And so obviously the eighth house is more of a spiritual house, more of a intangible house, and then second house is a very tangible sort of house. And so over the next 18 months, I can feel for Taurus doing a lot of things pertaining to money, sure, but also second house is the house of resources. It's the house of speech and family. So maybe you're focused on family, maybe you're focused kind of on returning to your roots or traditions, really upholding the sense of traditions and sticking to your values is like what you're going to be focused on and obsessed with, in a sense, because of Rahu's energy. And so I feel like you're really embarking on this financial freedom journey, financial improvement journey. Obviously, I feel like since you're a Taurus, you're probably already kind of focused on that throughout your life, but even more so, you're just hyper focused, obsessed with it for the next 18 months. And also, Rahu represents inventions. Rahu represents this very creative, innovative energy. So I feel like you might be thinking of really innovative, creative ways to make money. And I feel like this is so specific too, just because Uranus is transiting Taurus. So you're going to be really making money, but not in a traditional way. I think you're going to break outside of the norm and make money online. I can see for a lot of Taurus becoming like wealthy overnight from some sort of investment, maybe doing investing in stocks or flipping your money, anything having to do with online, I guess, or anything having to do with the internet, or anything that makes money out of the norm for you, you're going to succeed in the next 18 months. So if you have some sort of online business, you will succeed in that. If you want to have an online business, you will succeed in that. If you want to get into stocks and trading and investing and flipping and anything like that, that's kind of like out of the norm ways of making money, you will excel in it. And that's going to be really where you are obsessed with, or what you are obsessed with in your life, and seeking a lot of achievement in that arena. I do see for Taurus, you guys really making money online in some really inventive way, like almost in a way you wouldn't even think about. Like even sitting here right now watching this video, maybe you can't even think of a example I'm talking about with this topic, but I feel like within the next 18 months, obviously the answers will unfold to you and you'll think of a really inventive way to make money, and really innovative new way of expanding your financial success. Let's talk about this South Node sitting in your 8th house and what that kind of represents. So obviously we just talked about your North Node in the 2nd house, meaning a lot of financial focus for you, but 8th house is that house of intangible spirituality. It's the house of transformation, sudden gains, sudden losses. And then the South Node is also called Ketu in Vedic astrology. And so with Ketu, it represents detachment, apathy, breaking of things. So I feel like you might be separated from kind of like this sense, I wouldn't say separated from spirituality, but I feel like you're going to be so obsessed with the material world that you might just feel sort of apathetic towards your spiritual journey. Also, you might be experiencing a lot of, I would say very subtle spiritual transformations, like transformations you don't really initiate, but transformations that happen within your subconscious mind or within your spiritual being that you aren't really aware of consciously. I feel like you're going to really spiritually evolve over the next 18 months, but not really actively do it, if that makes sense. Just because you're more focused on the material world, not really focused on the spiritual world, but you still might transform inadvertently, just given Ketu's nature in the 8th house. And so on a more mundane level, I will say Ketu in the 8th house does signify maybe some, I guess when it comes to other people's resources or like insurance, things like that, you might separate from that or break certain contracts, or maybe pull your money out of certain things that you don't find worthy. Like, I feel like you're going to pull your money out of stuff that isn't a worthy investment. Like I said, Ketu is a very like separation sort of energy. So you might separate your finances and resources from joint, I guess, investments that you might be in, or insurance. You might resolve some debt as well. 8th house is debts, so maybe you get rid of some debts. Either way, there's a sense of money for you that is emphasized, and detaching from certain resources is going to be emphasized too with that Ketu in the 8th house. So Taurus, tell me down below if you felt this shift from your 3rd to 2nd house already. But I feel like the nodes are just so strong that even them just shifting in the past few days, you can feel that shift just already. So tell me down below if you felt that shift, if you feel that shift of like focusing on communication but now focusing on money, and tell me down below if you've felt that shift at all. And then for more astrology content, head to my Instagram at astrokit, and I'll see you Taurus in my next video. Okay, hey Aries, so let's talk about this nodal shift and how it changes your destiny, your fate, and really changes the course of your life. So as you guys know, the past 18 months, the North and South Node has been in Cancer and Capricorn. However, on May 5th, so just a few days ago, they shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius. So that means a lot for every single sign. And we're going to talk about what that means for Aries. And with the North and South Node, it's such an important point in our birth chart, if not the most important point, that shows us our destiny, our purpose, and really what we'll end up doing in our life in a karmic spiritual sense. So when the nodes shift, then our life shifts quite a bit. And let's talk about what that means for Aries. So I have your chart right here, Aries. So when it comes to the nodes shifting, obviously for you, the nodes have been in your 4th and 10th house axis the past 18 months. I don't know if I said that, but the nodes stay in 2 signs for 18 months. So they've been in your 4th and 10th house, which is Cancer, Capricorn in your chart, for Aries rising only. I think, did I mention that? This is for Aries rising, not Aries sun. So the nodes have been sitting there. So you've been experiencing a lot of themes as it pertains to family, career, your direction in life, your legacy, what you want to do with your life, things like that. It's been a really powerful 18 months for you where you're just really pondering those sort of things, really focused on your home life, which is that 4th house energy, maybe detaching from certain careers, letting go of certain goals you had. You've been experiencing a lot of transformation as it pertains to home and career and your private life versus public life. But on May 5th, that all changed. And the nodes now, as we speak today, as you're watching this video, are sitting in your 3rd and 9th house axis. So let's just write that down so we get a good picture of that. And so obviously for you as an Aries rising, your 3rd house is in Gemini, and then your 9th house is in Sagittarius, which are the natural houses for those signs, because you are an Aries rising, so your chart is like the natural Zodiac chart. And so what that means for you is that you're now going to be focused a lot on communication. You might be focused on travel. Really expanding your spiritual knowledge is kind of like what I sense for Aries. And so when it comes to this North Node, we'll talk about this North Node and we'll talk about the South Node after. But with the North Node in Western astrology, obviously we call it North Node, but in Vedic astrology it's called Rahu, and Rahu represents obsession, it represents desires, it represents invention in foreign lands. So when it comes to Rahu being here, you're going to be really obsessed with gaining new knowledge, gaining new insight. You're going to have a lot of new hobbies you take on. Maybe you're just having this very almost childlike energy of discovering new things around you. It's almost like you're going to have this very electric mental energy of like wanting to learn new things, learn new spiritual things, communicate with people. Your daily routine is going to be very busy, very active. 3rd house does represent routine and daily routine and things you do every day. And so you're going to be really busy with stuff like that. 3rd house is also like, it literally represents hands and driving and like doing things like, I guess doing errands and like little things with your hands, I guess. So you might be doing, just be very busy overall with this 3rd house so activated for you. And so with Rahu being in the 3rd house, I feel like you're going to be very obsessed with communicating things you learn, obsessed with just gaining new knowledge. You're going to have this really keen sense of gaining knowledge, and that's going to be the whole thread throughout this next 18 months for you. And I will say with your 3rd and 9th house like activated, like this axis being so activated in your chart for the next year or so, it's all about learning. It's about gaining knowledge. I feel like knowledge and learning is the key word with Sag Gemini energy and 9th and 3rd house axis energy. It's like about gaining knowledge. So that can be your obsession, which is Rahu in the next 18 months, is like gaining knowledge, being obsessed with learning new things. Maybe you learn a new language. Again, Rahu does represent foreign things, foreign lands, things that are foreign to us. So you might learn a new language. It's kind of a good time to learn a new language if you wanted to learn one. I feel like you could learn it more easily if you do try to pick it up within the next 18 months, because you do have that Rahu activating your 3rd house. 3rd house is short distance travel, 9th house is long distance travel. So obviously when travel becomes more normal again, I feel like Aries is going to be the first one on a plane, because your 3rd and 9th house is so activated that you just like want to travel, you want to expand yourself, expand your horizons, you want to be spontaneous, you just want to just have this energy of just breaking barriers, I feel like. And so I feel like travel is also going to be a theme, even if it's just short distance travel, so just driving somewhere, road trips, hiking, things like that's going to be a theme in your life, popping up over and over again during this Rahu third house transit. And so let's talk about Ketu a little bit. So Ketu is this south node in the ninth house. And so ninth house is about long distance travel, higher education. And then Ketu in Vedic astrology represents breaking of things, disconnecting from things, detaching from things. Ketu is really this sense of apathy as well. So you might be disconnecting and breaking away from certain belief systems, certain things that you thought to be true. You're going to be really questioning things. I sense you're going to be really like almost like questioning the truth of life. I feel like up until now, maybe you've, thought of your life in a certain way, but now it's like, wait, let me question that. Let me be a scientist and like think about a new way of doing something, a new way of thinking about something. Rahu energy is very like scientific. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like someone who sort of rebels against the, I guess, common way of thinking. That's kind of like the energy I'm getting. It's like this very inventive energy, like questioning everything sort of energy. I feel like in the next 18 months, you're just going to be like questioning everything, questioning reality, questioning people around you. Like, okay, well, how do you know that? Okay, well, why is it this way? Or like, we can do that differently. I think you're just going to have this really significant mental shift in your mind and really question the whole paradigm of life and really thinking like, wow, we have to really change this somehow. I feel like mental change is going to take place a lot in your life. And so I also sense this kind of sense of bravery too. So it's like you're questioning things, but you're doing it very boldly. Like, I feel like in the next 18 months, you'll have a scenario where it's like you're questioning authority, or you're questioning someone in your family, or questioning like, okay, well, that's not true. You're going to challenge them. Things like that. There's like this sort of rebellious energy with Rahu. So you might be questioning and challenging people around you, but really with the purpose of mental expansion, not just doing it to be annoying, but doing it to like expand your mind and expand people around you. Because that's really how you change things, is like challenging people. And so back to this south node in the ninth house. So you're really going to be detaching from certain beliefs. Ninth house is all about higher beliefs, your perspective on life. So I feel like you might be letting go of a certain level of consciousness you were at. I feel like there's this huge consciousness shift with you. It's almost like you're going from thinking on one level of consciousness to like shifting to a whole nother dimension. There's this level of like dimensional shifts for you. And you might have felt that shift as early as like right now, like since the nodes shifted on May 5th, you might have had that consciousness shift already. You might be due for one in the next few weeks, next few months. Again, this transit lasts for 18 months. So I feel like there's a lot of consciousness evolution for you, and really just detaching from old belief systems, what you used to think and believe, and really detaching from the, I guess, groupthink logic. I think that's the word I was thinking about earlier. It's like detaching from groupthink and inventing your own way of thinking, inventing your own way of viewing things, inventing your own perspective, and maybe even really challenging groupthink and challenging the groupthink around you. And then ninth house does rule politics and religion. So again, when Ketu is in the ninth house, it kind of represents detaching from things or having apathy towards things that represent that house. So when it comes to religion and politics, again, I feel like you're gonna have this real like apathy and like disinterest in like religious beliefs and political views. I feel like you're just gonna be in your own lane of thinking and mental processing. And let's say you've been a part of a certain religion or have had certain political beliefs, I feel like that's going to get turned on its head, and you're going to be like, wait, I don't believe that. Like, I don't have to believe that just because my family does. I don't have to follow that religion just because my friends do. You're really just having that really key consciousness shift. So this is really important for Aries risings. I'm kind of excited for you guys. I feel like this is really pivotal in your life, and it's going to change a lot in your life. So you can expect travel, new ways of thinking, consciousness expansion, inventing new things, inventing new ideas, having a lot of new ideas, having a very busy everyday life, new routine, things like that we just talked about. And so tell me down below if you feel like you've felt this shift already. Even though it was only a couple days ago, I feel like when the nodes shift, they're so powerful that you can just almost feel it right away. So tell me down below if you felt this shift from your 4th house to your 3rd house already. And then follow me on Instagram for more astrology content at AstroKit. And I'll see you Aries in my next video.